Here is a number most people never think about. The average American homeowner has over $300,000 in home equity sitting completely idle, not working, not compounding, not generating any return whatsoever. It is just sitting there, locked inside a wall, while the mortgage payment goes out every single month. Now compare that to what a small group of sophisticated investors are doing with that same equity. And the gap in outcomes is staggering. They are using refinancing not as a one-time rate adjustment, but as a repeating engine. A system for extracting idle capital, redeploying it into income-producing assets, and letting the original property keep appreciating in the background. They call it the perpetual capital loop. And once you understand how it works, you will never look at your equity the same way again. Let's start with what refinancing actually is, because most people's understanding stops at a much shallower level. When you refinance, you are replacing your existing mortgage with a new one, either to capture a better interest rate, change your loan term, or pull cash out of your equity. That last option is called a cash-out refinance, and it is the one that changes everything. In a cash-out refi, your lender allows you to borrow against a percentage of your home's appraised value, typically up to 75 or 80% of what the property is worth. The difference between that new loan amount and what you currently owe comes to you in cash at closing. Tax-free cash. Not income, not a taxable event. Just capital that you now have access to, deploy however you choose. The reason most people miss this is that they treat their home equity like a savings account. It feels safe sitting there. It feels like wealth. And technically, it is wealth. But it is inert wealth. Dead capital. Here is the insight that separates investors from everyone else. A property appreciates based on the market, not based on how much equity you have in it. A house worth $500,000 will appreciate to $550,000 next year, whether you have 20% equity or 80% equity. The asset grows the same either way, which means if you have $200,000 in equity sitting inside that property, you are sacrificing the return that money could be earning somewhere else in exchange for exactly nothing. The property does not appreciate faster because you paid down more of the loan. It appreciates based on supply and demand in your market. Full stop. Let's walk through a real example. You buy a property for $300,000. You put 20% down, $60,000 out of pocket. You carry a $240,000 mortgage. Over the next 5 years, the property appreciates to $400,000. Your equity has grown from $60,000 to roughly $160,000, assuming modest principal paydown. Now you go to a lender and do a cash-out refinance at 75% loan-to-value. 75% of $400,000 is $300,000. You pay off your existing mortgage balance, let's call it $225,000, and you walk away from closing with approximately $75,000 in cash. Tax-free, no capital gains, no income tax. You borrowed it, and your original property is still sitting there, still appreciating. You did not sell it. You did not lose it. You simply unlocked the equity that was sitting idle, and now you have a new $75,000 to work with. If you deploy that $75,000 as a down payment on a second rental property worth $375,000, you now have two appreciating assets producing two rental income streams. From what started as a single $60,000 down payment 5 years ago. That is the perpetual capital loop. Each cycle of appreciation, extract, redeploy, creates another income-producing asset and another compounding clock. The investors who do this consistently over a decade do not just have one or two properties. They have portfolios, built not from constantly feeding cash into new deals, but from recycling the equity each asset generates. This concept has been systematized in the real estate world under a strategy called BRRRR: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Here is how it works in practice. You buy a distressed property below market value, say $150,000 in a market where similar updated homes sell for $220,000. You put in $40,000 of targeted renovations that drive the appraised value up. Property is now worth $210,000. You rent it, securing rental income that covers your costs. You refinance at 75% LTV. That's $150,700, which pays back your purchase price and a significant chunk of your rehab costs. In the best executions of this strategy, investors recoup almost all of their initial capital in the refinance. Then they repeat the cycle with that same capital somewhere else. One pool of money, multiple assets. That is the machine. Now, a lot of people hear this and immediately raise the rate objection. What about high interest rate environments? Doesn't this strategy break down when rates are elevated? The answer is no, but it requires a more disciplined analysis. The question is never the rate in isolation. The question is the spread between the cost of your capital and the return on what you deploy it into. If you are pulling equity at a 7% interest rate and redeploying it into a rental property, generating a 13% cash-on-cash return, the math is still strongly positive. You are arbitraging the spread. The strategy does get tighter in high-rate environments, which means your underwriting needs to be tighter. But it does not disappear. It just requires better deals and more conservative projections. Let's talk about risk, because this is not a consequence-free strategy. Refinancing increases your debt load. You are taking on a larger mortgage. If your property declines in value after you refinance, which does happen in down markets, you could find yourself underwater, owing more than the property is worth. If your rental sits vacant for an extended period, you are covering that larger mortgage out of pocket. These are real risks. The discipline required is this: never extract equity without a clear, underwritten deployment plan, and never leave yourself without reserves. Every leveraged property should have a minimum of 6 months of carrying costs in liquid reserves before you touch the equity proceeds. The people who got crushed in 2008 were not the ones using equity. They were the ones using equity without reserves and without stress-tested underwriting. The perpetual capital concept is not limited to real estate. The same principle applies across other asset classes. In a brokerage account, margin loans allow investors to borrow against appreciated stock positions to fund new investments. The risk profile is higher because stocks are more volatile, but the mechanism is identical. In whole life insurance, through what is known as infinite banking, policyholders borrow against their cash value to fund purchases and investments, then repay themselves, keeping the compounding uninterrupted inside the policy. Business owners do this with commercial real estate owned through their businesses. The pattern is consistent across every version. Use an appreciating asset as a capital engine rather than letting the value accumulate passively and idle. One of the most important features of this strategy that gets overlooked is the tax treatment. Cash received from a cash-out refinance is not income. It is debt. The IRS does not tax you on borrowed money. You can extract $200,000 from a property in a cash-out refinance and owe zero in taxes on it, while still maintaining ownership of a growing asset, still collecting rent, and still benefiting from depreciation deductions on the property. This is fundamentally different from selling the property, where you would owe capital gains taxes on your profit. Refinancing gives you liquidity without the tax hit. For long-term investors in high tax brackets, this distinction alone can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a career. If you want to execute your first cash-out refinance, here is how you approach it. Start by calculating your current loan-to-value ratio. Divide your current mortgage balance by what you believe your property is worth. If you are at 70% LTV or below, you likely have room to pull capital. Get an updated appraisal. Lenders will require one, but you want to know the number before you start conversations so you are not surprised. Shop multiple lenders. Rates and fees vary more than most people realize on cash-out products, and the closing costs will eat into your proceeds if you are not comparing. Understand your break-even timeline. The point at which your rental income on the new deployment covers the increased debt service. And critically, have a specific plan for every dollar before you close. Undisciplined capital does more damage than no capital at all. Here is what this comes down to. Real wealth is not built by accumulating assets and watching them sit. It is built by understanding how capital circulates. The investors who end up with significant portfolios did not do it by saving harder or earning more. They did it by putting their capital to work multiple times, using each cycle of appreciation as fuel for the next acquisition, the next income stream, the next compounding clock. Refinancing, done with discipline and clear underwriting, is one of the most powerful tools for making that happen. The equity in your property is not a trophy. It is potential energy. The question is whether you let it sit there or put it in motion. If this opened your eyes to a strategy you had not considered, drop a comment and let me know where you are in your refinancing journey. Whether you are just learning the mechanics, sitting on equity you have not touched, or already cycling capital through your portfolio. Subscribe if you want to keep building this foundation week after week. We will see you in the next one.